Hi there, my name is Wang Ping. From today on, I will try to put my program on this channel, impeccable voice with both languages, Chinese and English. Pretty much I will repeat what I had delivered today at my virtual Toastmaster meeting. The title of today's speech is The Day I Became a Grandpa. July the 6th, 2020, a little over a month ago, I became a grandpa. A little girl baby of 7 pounds and 8 ounces was born that morning, and both my granddaughter and my daughter-in-law were healthy and doing well. I was ecstatic, excited, and I felt like I was on the top of the world. I also felt such a overwhelmingly profound gratitude, and I was deeply touched by my own emotions. I just wanted to talk to someone and share what's in my mind. Out of all the families and friends I can think of, I called Terry Johnson, one American lady who lives in Pennsylvania, far away from here. Hi Terry, how are you? Hi Ping, how are you? So glad to hear your voice. She has a magical way of making me happy every time I call her, and she was able to make me feel that my call made her so happy. And Terry, I became a grandpa. I didn't try to hide my excitement. We chatted about over half an hour, and I told Terry what I felt and how grateful I was to her, to the people of Kansas. We tried to recall what happened that night 34 years ago when we first met. It was a meeting to be remembered forever. Terry Johnson, at that time, was the senior assistant to the governor of Kansas, John Carlin. And Terry was given particularly a job coordinating the efforts amongst 7 colleges and universities so that a little guy named Wang Ping could come here to study as a postgraduate. And Dr. Wilson, the president of the Pittsburgh State University, gladly responded and came up with an offer. Dr. Wilson drove from Pittsburgh to Topeka to just give me that I-20 form in person. My boss and I met with Terry and Dr. Wilson. One of the questions I asked, kind of silly, was that about that $4,000 stipend. I had no idea, no clue whatsoever about American standard, living standard, about how much that $4,000 a year will do for me. And at that time, I was making like less than $50 a month as a government employee in China. Dr. Wilson answered my question with a big smile. You are not going to live like a king, but you will be all right. I translate that to my boss, and we all laughed heartily. Pittsburgh State University provided me with everything they possibly have and with everything I can possibly dream of. They offered me full tuition waiver. They offered me assistantship. They even offered me free housing. And it was not a single bed in a student's dormitory. It was a suite in a married dormitory. Even though my wife didn't come to join me for another year, I started living in this beautiful, small but beautiful married dorm. And I could concentrate, focus on my studies instead of washing dishes every night like many other of my fellow students. A year later, my wife joined me, and the school, Dr. Wilson, gave her another full scholarship. And 6 months later, I managed to go back again to get my son here. So my son started his education since he was 5 years old. Polytechnic as his high school. Lawrence, he went through several elementary schools in Olathe, Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas. Then he finished his high school in California, Polytechnic, and he got recruited by Georgetown. After that, he worked a few years. Then he started his postgraduate study, Berkeley Haas Business School. Haas School of Business, Berkeley. And then later on, he started a company together with his wife. He joined his wife to start a company. A few years later, they got married, and now they became parents. It seems that one family has been expanding and flourishing in this land of free. And all this started on that night in 1986 when Terry and Dr. Wilson gave me that I-20 form. China and the United States have a long history together. Americans not only helped me, I'm one among 100,000, if not millions, of those Chinese who came to this country to study. And many of us were given full scholarship. A few were given assistantship, even fewer who were given free housing. Americans helped China, helped Chinese people many, many years ago. They started building schools, hospitals 100 years ago. And during World War II, we fought together against the Japanese. And a couple of thousand finest American young people sacrificed their life fighting in the air, transporting goods over Himalaya. And most famous group of fighters, the finest American young men, called Flying Tiger. A lot of them died. And a lot of Chinese people, civilians, died. Hundreds of thousands of them died for rescuing one American pilot that landed in China and rescued by the Chinese civilians and slaughtered by the Japanese. we used to have a long history fighting the same enemy together. But look at what happens today. It's called a Cold War. And we even fear, is there anybody worrying about a hot war? I think some of us have been really concerned and worried. Of course, we don't hope, we don't want war. At the people's level, we are all peace-loving. We love our family. We love our children. We care about our friends and our community. We just want a peaceful life. We just want a prosperity. Nobody wants a war. Nobody wants any kind of a war, either hot war, cold war, or trade war. But things happen for a reason, and things happen with their own logic and with their own reasoning. We, as little people, as a little guy, we have very limited information. If we had a better, if we know all that there is to know, we probably have better judgment. But one American minister visits Taiwan. So what's next going to happen? Let's wait and see. This is the first time since 1979. Is this going to be a beginning of an end to something more, a lot bigger? Let's wait and see. And yesterday, a small newspaper called Apple Daily sold more than 500,000 copies. And normally they sell like 70,000 copies a day. And over 500,000 copies sold in one day. Many people buy 10, 20, 50 copies. And people even said, if you sell blank paper, white paper, we will buy it. And the stock price of that particular Apple Daily surged 300% just in one day. The Hong Kong people are trying to say something to us, to the world. The Hong Kong people are trying to give us a message. I think it's loud and clear. 19 years ago, on 11th September 2001, that's 9/11. Yes, exactly on that day. That memory burned into my head and heart. I was holding my little boy, my younger son, my second son. He was just 7 days old. And watching TV. It's a Phoenix, located in Hong Kong. At that time, entire country of China, there was no broadcasting for 911 incident. Only Phoenix, Hong Kong station was broadcasting live. And I was watching the Twin Towers collapsing in front of my eyes, real time. I was looking at my boy and said to him and to myself, what a world you were born into. Today, I can almost say the same thing with my granddaughter. 19 years passed. Are we living in a better place? Is this world a lot better, or it's getting worse? It's debatable. I mean, you may have very conflicting comments or conclusions on this question. But one thing that's not debatable is Bin Laden was dead. And I can say the same thing to my granddaughter when I held her with it's after 14 days quarantine. And when she was 1 month old, that day, when she was 1 month old, that was the first time I ever held her in my arms with a mask on my face. What a world you were going into. 9 years later, 19 years later, 29 years later, what this world will become. And that's a question that I am asking, and that's a question I want to share with all of you. Things are going to happen no matter what. They will happen one after another. 2020 already full of events. And let us wish that we will never go into a all-out war with anybody, between anybody. And let's hope things will get better. Let's hope everything will just becoming better. And surely enough, things will happen that may be beyond whatever comprehension we can have today. And this is going to be made for the second time in Chinese, and they are slightly different, but let me hear from you. And again, this is Impeccable Voice. My name is Wang Ping. Thank you for listening, and thank you very much.